Portugal does not want you. Wow, that's quite a shocking statement. But stick around if you want to know what Portugal does not want. Hey, my name's Nick Robinson. I've lived in the Algarve for 25 years. And I love it here. I really do love it here. Back in November 2020, I started making videos on YouTube, and now we've grown into this great company which helps people relocate to Portugal. And it's fantastic, really good fun. And we love it so much. But recently, like I said, there have been some strange reports and people feeling like, there's a lot of pushback from the Portuguese against immigrants. And you know what? I'm going to tell you all about that and what the real truth is. We're talking a little bit about why Portugal doesn't want you. And it's not nice hearing that, but I found a surprising feeling has surfaced over the last year or so. And people seem to be getting sick and tired of Portugal. And I don't blame them. Like, everywhere you look, it's Portugal this and Portugal that, blah, 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 blah. But many people have started to feel a bit of negative pushback from the Portuguese. That foreigners are just not wanted, and the feeling that Portugal doesn't want you. Personally, I've only seen this online.
Where the trolls are.
I've never seen it in real life. Everybody I speak to is fantastic and wonderful and really okay. Maybe they mutter about me behind their backs, who knows. But the following 7 points really ring true. Portugal does not want you if you don't want to integrate. There's like so many examples of this people. And there's little jokes on Instagram as well. It's quite hilarious.
How long have we been in Spain? 10 years, mate. 10 years. Had to get out of the UK. Had to get out of the UK. Too many immigrants. Of course you can't say that anymore, can you, mate? Problem is I don't learn the language.
Hola.
Dos. Beers. Thanks. I don't get involved in the culture. What are we doing after this? Gary's Irish bar, yeah.
This one is about Spain, but I just found it so funny. Portugal doesn't want you if you want to stick around watching Sky TV and, drinking your pint and lager. Sorry, I'm not singling out Brits here because a lot of people, it's natural for you to cling to your own people. And it's also good because, you do get a sense of comfort from being a stranger in a strange land. You need all the support you can get. But obviously you got to step outside that and you got to start, integrating. Portugal does not want you if you refuse to learn the language. And so many people refuse to learn the language because they're scared and because they don't know it. And because, as you get older, like me, I struggle to remember things and it's hard, but you got to try your best. But at the same time, you'll be surprised how many locals will really want to impress you with their English skills. But the one kind of the sentiment that I overheard in a bar from a relatively young woman, she was like 40 years old, and she was sort of standing there in this group and she turned around and said,
"Why don't they speak Spanish here? I mean, really?"
And there was a Portuguese person right next to her. She looked at her and she was like, come on, that's just total disrespect. So have a lot of respect when you're coming here. You're a visitor in somebody else's land. And Portugal does not want you if you're not interested in the culture. I mean, do you know where these crazy cool customs come from?
¡Corre, corre! ¡Agarrate! ¡Más rápido!
Bom dia.
Bom dia.
Bom dia.
A coffee, please.
Olá, Fátima, que bom te ver.
Tudo bem?
Sim. João, disse Catarina.
Tudo ótimo. Que saudades.
Viva o Madeiro! Viva a tradição!
No one really expects you to know those off the bat, but it's, do you know Portuguese food, or do you opt for burgers and steak? If you don't know, find out. Be curious. It's fun. It really is. It's like a proper journey. And food has been a long issue for me. I mean, I didn't really enjoy Portuguese food when I first came here, but now I live for it. Really do. All right, Portugal does not want you if you're not fascinated with the epic history of these lands. I mean, maybe we should start 2,000 years ago with the Romans. Then we can move into the Moorish invasion and then the Reconquista, which I'd prefer to frame as the Iberian Crusades, although I'm not an historian. I just think it makes a lot more sense. And, the Christians eventually kicked out the Muslims in 1249, and unimaginable wealth followed with dramas like pirates and plagues and earthquakes, more invasions. Yep, France, looking at you. I think you should check out our ever-growing list of books about Portugal in English, because they really are fascinating stories. And, it's the most incredible tale of any country. Portugal also does not want you if you think the Portuguese are beneath you. I mean, Portugal has had a tough run of luck ever since the 1755 earthquake, and then the dictatorship and countless other elements leading to it being one of the poorer countries in the EU. And it's fairly natural for people from a richer country to come here and go, oh, it works so much better in my country. But ways of life get handed down from one generation to the other. And life, as a result, is different here. And the values are different here. I think you should celebrate that. I don't think you should look down on it. Portugal does not want you if you're going to complain about the bureaucracy. Wait, hang on. That one right there is actually a very, very valid complaint. And even the locals are sick and tired of it. Countless governments have promised to solve the problem. Back even in Socrates, who is one of the first prime ministers ever convicted of, I don't even know if he's been convicted, but he was accused of some serious corruption. Even he was starting to try and tackle bureaucracy. But, these days you can see little pricks of hope here and there. And we have to embrace the little victories. You can now update your driver's license online. You can issue green receipts online, which if you don't know what green receipts are, it's a way of, it's like sort of the most primary way of running a business, and a host of other things. And in October 2025, the latest promise from Portugal's new ministry, which they formed a new ministry called the Ministry for State Reform. And there's this guy. He's not a guy. He's a minister. So got to have respect there. His name is Gonçalo Saraiva Matias, and he heads the newly established ministry. And he previously served as a Secretary of State in a past government. Now, the ministry's core mission is to modernize public administration by implementing reforms focused on simplification, which is Portugal is way too complicated. It's great that they've mentioned that word simplification. It was just a joy to my ears. Digitalization, which is obviously the way to get ahead. Coordination, speaking between government agencies. And accountability. So the Prime Minister, our Prime Minister called Luís Montenegro, if you didn't know, he has described it as a war on bureaucracy. And it's brilliant. So our guy Gonçalo Matias is now kind of like the Elon Musk. He was he was doing his Doge thing in America, and I think they might have fashioned that along him, and it's a great thing. I think it's important. Obviously, we don't want him to be exactly like Elon Musk, but we are rooting for you, bro. We want Gonçalo to take ahead, to really get ahead and solve bureaucracy, because it's rampant here and it causes corruption, it causes all kinds of horrible things. Portugal does not want you if you just want to come here and invest by taking advantage of the tax incentive programs. Portugal wants people who are keen to invest time and effort and personality into the community and grow the whole country, not just take advantage of it financially. It's I think it's kind of an important thing, because with all these tax incentives that aren't really there anymore, people were doing that, and it didn't work out so well. And obviously we're going into a shaky subject here now, because the whole housing issue happened because of that, not because of that. There are many factors that influence the housing crisis in Portugal, but it is a terrible thing, and it's really, really hard for locals. It really is. And my heart goes out to you guys. It's tough. And I'm a local too. I've been here 25 years. I arrived with no money, and I got a bicycle for my first 6 months. And I've built up a decent living here with my wife and my family, and it's great. So we've done this too. It's not like we're foreigners who've come here and bought hundreds of thousands of euros and then say, oh, isn't it nice to live in Portugal? It's not like that for us. People have mentioned online that Portugal is becoming more divisive. Now, I don't believe this is actually true. You can see it online, and maybe you can see it in America, and maybe people are copying that from other countries and saying Portugal is more divisive, but I don't think that's true. Sure, trolls online talk crap all day long. However, the radical right, and we're looking at Chega here, which is the radical right party, headed by André Ventura, they definitely take advantage of the fact that many poorer people are immigrating to Portugal and weighing down the country's infrastructure. And they're taking advantages of benefits in the medical system. But when you actually fact check this, all 1.6 million immigrants and foreigners who are living in Portugal actually contribute to the system more than they take from it, according to multiple sources. And I've listed those below in the description. So go fact check that. And it's amazing, obviously people will say things like Chega, whatever, will say things. And then the population will repeat it and add it, and it's like broken telephone, And eventually they start believing all the fact that these immigrants are, sucking us dry. And it's not true. It's not true. But it also, on the other hand, it's a very good thing for Chega to stand up and play opposition leaders and demand the tightening up of these immigration rules, which has now subsequently happened. However, it's a fine line that they tread between that and outright racism. For years, Portugal offered what felt like a fair deal. If you entered legally, found a job, and started paying into the system, you could stay. It was called the expression of interest process, and a route that let thousands of workers, families, and dreamers build lives here with full legality. Then, in 2024, everything changed. Faced with a massive backlog of applications, the government scrapped the system overnight. And just like that, people who had followed every rule, who worked, paid taxes, and waited patiently for their residence permits, suddenly became illegal. And it wasn't because they crossed a border unlawfully, but it was because the law changed under their very feet. Now today, newcomers can't regularize, as they say, from inside Portugal anymore. They must get a job offer and apply for a visa before they arrive. It's a new chapter, but for many who played by the old rules, the transition has been anything but fair. And effectively, in the press, they're labelled as these illegal immigrants, but they're not illegal. They followed the whole processes. And like we said again, the law just changed overnight. So this is something that, Chega's picked up on, and they talk about it a lot. But it's great that it has been tightened up. So now Portugal does want you, if you want to integrate, if you want to give back to the community, if you want to start a business here, you want to get involved. Portugal does want you if you want to build something in line with Portuguese values, Portuguese customs with integrity, and you want to respect the customs and the food and the traditions, and you don't want to come here and look down on people and say, why would you speak in Spanish? Because great things they really are happening here. The tech industry has boomed in Lisbon, mainly as a result of the Web Summit, which has been held every single year now for quite a few years now. And it's one of tech's biggest conferences in the world. And it's spinning off down here in the Algarve, and there are many initiatives and movements like Algarve Evolution that are spin-offs of that. So they hold events all the time. So the opportunities are there if you want to get involved. And it's don't always just try and start your own thing. Go and contribute to their success. Get involved. Tons of local Portuguese people have jumped on the tourism bandwagon, and it's great. They're creating fantastic businesses down here in the Algarve, because obviously it's all about tourism. I know it's hard to run a business here, as it is everywhere, but people are making progress, and it is exciting, and we need to go out and celebrate these people. So if you do know of a great business success story in the Algarve, let me know. I'd love to interview you guys for our weekly podcast, which is coming back soon. We've taken a bit of a break, and it's coming back soon. So thank you so much for watching and for listening to me to talk about these things, because they are important. They really are. But things definitely get a little bit skewed online. They really do. So let's try and fact check stuff. And, we've got this incredible resource of all these AI things like Perplexity and ChatGPT and stuff. And while they may not always be 100% true, you can really research stuff very, very, very well using these modern tools. So let's keep informed and enjoy Portugal, because it's a beautiful place, and let's make it better with everybody combined in a beautiful, wonderful, loving community. All right. Have a great week. See you next week. AlgarveAddicts.com. We'll see you next week. But if you need any help relocating to the Algarve, click through to our website, AlgarveAddicts.com. We offer tours, immigration assistance, long-term rentals, and we can buy your house.